You already know. Easy A in the building. Yeah. This is gonna be a show, and I just had a realization, collective, and I hope it touch everybody that hears it, and I want it go worldwide. I really do. That's my intentions. Put it in your language. You don't even have to be me. Y'all could, present it as you. But like I said before, don't take nothing away from it. Don't add nothing to it. That changes the value of it. But God might give you something a little more. So I can't say don't change it, but don't change its value. If anything, add to it. And adding to it ain't changing it. It's just solidifying what it needs to be. Hmm. Now here we go. In the Bible, there's a tale, when Jesus was in the garden, you know, going through his why me with his Lord. Wow, his disciples supposed to have been staying to watch, but they kept on falling asleep or whatever. This is when he was communing, with his forefathers, Elijah and no disrespect, but y'all know the story or look into it. That's another reason. If you don't, you never have gotten into that or heard that story. This might not resonate, but please, Google it, ask for the reference to what I just said about Jesus being in the garden and being about to be tempted by the devil. All right. But we're gonna skip some parts. We're gonna jump straight to the part where he takes him to a high pillar. So take Jesus to a high, one of the highest points in, all the world where you can see everything. And he told, our Heavenly Father, or the Son of God, Jesus Christ, that if he kneels to him, he'll give him all the riches of the land. Everything that he see will be his. Jesus didn't tell him he was a liar. He just punched him in the face with our Heavenly Father's words. Thou shalt not, serve no other God, which that made him furious. But my realization out of this came about now. I always knew, had the ideology of it, but never was able. I'm not saying put it into words, but the way I'm gonna articulate it right now. In those trials that Jesus experienced right before, he got seized and took into the cross or whatever, to go through all the things that none of us ever wants to go through, especially being innocent of none of the things that he was tortured for. And he was tortured for everything, for every sin that any man or woman that's ever been manifested throughout eternity. We got individuals that we call crazy or insane, like rapists, pedophiles, you know, um, and all types of others, and which I know I'll be attacked for saying those logos, but or titles of certain individuals or the things that they do, but those are their titles. These are the games that our older ancient brother or cousin, however you want to see it, his job is to test you on your morals, on your integrity, on your spirit, on your heart. And we live in this matrix or this illusion of his in a way, because it's not really his, it's God, because he can't do nothing unless God allows him to do it. So, getting back to when I was saying Jesus and him was having that conversation and Jesus didn't call him a liar, because Jesus knew already that this is your job to do. It's to test man, to test the spirit in man or woman, however you, in humanity. And I'm not going to argue with it about it. But at the same time, I know you not absolute. I know you ain't law. Yeah, you might get away with whatever you thinking you get away with. And I'm talking about the devil and the individuals that play his game. The ones that's rich, that's not really rich. The ones that is really leeches, parasites of the most vilest kind. The ones that suck you dry and then jump on to the next. As a matter of fact, they not just sucking you dry, they sucking a whole lot of other people dry at the same time. It's just a matter of who falls out first. And then there will be a replacement, but it was already a replacement before the replacement even showed up, because it's trying to attach itself to everything and anything to survive unjustly. This is what the lower vibrations, this dark side, actually does, knowingly and unknowingly. The ones that know the truth, the full truth of who they're actually serving, and doing all types of crazy rituals and stuff to prove themselves loyal to who they profess as their God. So I'm hoping y'all hear me. We need to start focusing